Nagabenta ki khubor baman kasni pet but subscribe ya u Antor News. Kublay pi baro kinikilong ki khubor bam ta kasni. Ministry Katunat Revenue and Disaster Management uba lakmen Rymbui ha kasni balang ula Pynshai ha poko yung darbar thawan halor ka supplementary demand ka bak ndriv khandai pensan pnyo Klur tingka ha po kitnat land revenue relief on account of natural calamities but other social services. Ya ka court motion awan ra da ka MLA ka ampati ka miani di Shira bad u Dr. Mizanur Rahman Kazi kadba unong yalam kaliang persya u Dr. Mukul M Sangma ulabu sa ki jingkali halor ka jingkre ka jingïada ni ki bor mariang bar ka jingpin poikloy ya ka jingyarap syaki basyakta haba jubab u ba Rymbui uloong ba ka disaster mitigation ka kentup ikisun jambla shimlupa syaban jia ka jingslay knang ban pindunai ka jingdo ki minsim ki jingdan jingem ka kamai ki jingtei bat ka mariang. Menteri ula pentip ba ka sorkar kalayo jingera pisa na ka sorkar deng na benta artili ki project ka forest fire risk management project ka bakot kumba khatsan pan prafu ar Klur tingka ka lightning safety project ka bakot kumba 100.9 Klur tingka ka project jingïada na ka dingklau kan kentup ya ka jing maham lupa ka jing pet ngori ka ding ka jing pen krek ki telong kilat jing ya kran hak por kerki ka jing hi kai ki pat ba bar ka jing jurip ya ki jing jular ka lightning safety project pat kan penyeng ya ki kor jing maham lupa penyar ya ka jing pen sotu pat ba bar ai jing hi kai ki shnong khamtam ha ki jakanong kendong kumno ban ya dana uprathat uba Rymbui uloong ba ka sorkar pring kala pelat khat ar pon ar pnyo Klur tingka na ka benta ka project jingïada na ka dingklau bat san pon san pho phra Klur tingka na ka benta ka lightning safety project komta la don kam ya ka supplementary demand ban pnyo ya ka jingmang pisa na ka benta usnem mang tingka ar hajar ar pnyo ka State Executive Committee kala menjeru ya ki weki kam ki bakentup ya ka jingïada na uprathan ha ki shpautli ki district ki la jingïada na ka jingshlei ki nala ba ki jingwat nya halor ki jaka baju shakta da ka jingshlei halor ka jing penslam ban penpoy ya ka jingyaram Menteri ula pentip ba ka sorkar kala pentrai kam ya ka disaster relief monitoring system lingba gane ki MLA ki la ban bud din ya ki nadu ka sngi bala pentip ya ka jingja hadu ba ka jingyarap ka poisya ki nong yo jingmentoy ula buru ya ki jingpenna ba ki kendon tri kam halor ka miet jingyen knang ba ki MLA kin la ban petnya ya ki kam hapo la ki jong ki constituency ba tip haknu ka kerdan la penslam ya ki file.
First of all, I would like to thank the Honorable Member Shira, MLA, Dr. Mizur Ghazi, MLA, the LO, Dr. Mukul Sangma, the Meral Bons MLA, Eti Mandal MLA, Rupa Marak MLA, and Hewinstud Khatprang MLA, for taking part in this court motion which brought by the Honourable Member Minidi Shira and Dr. Mizur Ghazi. So, I have noted all the points which have deliberated in this particular court motion, and I have noted it, and I will respond only to some point which it is relevant to this. Number 1 point, sir, it is regarding the mitigation. Sir, the Disaster Management Act 2005 defined mitigation as a measure aimed at reducing the risk, impact, or effect of disaster or treating disaster situation. Mitigation essentially means taking measures before a disaster occurs to reduce potential loss of life, property, livelihood, infrastructure, and environment. Mitigation measures may be structural as well as non-structural. Structural measure involves physical construction, engineering intervention, and technological measures intended to reduce disaster risk. Non-structural measure include risk assessment, early warning, awareness, training, capacity building, planning, mapping, community participation, and institutional strengthening. Thus, mitigation is distinct from the post-disaster relief. Relief is address the immediate consequence of disaster, whereas mitigation seeks to reduce the risk and severity of future disaster. Sir, the National Disaster Mitigation Fund and State Disaster Mitigation Fund. So, Disaster Management Act 2005 provides a framework for financing different stages of disaster management as mentioned by the Honorable LO. Section 46 of the Act provides for National Disaster Response Fund for meeting expense for emergency purposes, response, relief and rehabilitation in accordance with the prescribed guidelines. Section 47 provides for National Disaster Mitigation Fund. The Act provides that the central government may constitute the NDMF for meeting disaster mitigation needs and that the fund shall apply by national authority in accordance with the guidelines laid down by the central government in consultation with the national authority. Section 48 requires the state government to establish inter alia State Disaster Response Fund and State Disaster Mitigation Fund. The Act provides for the respective national control and application of these funds. Funding pattern, sir. The current Government of India framework continues to provide a separate mitigation funding at national and state level. For the current Finance Commission award periods, the Government of India has also dedicated allocation for SDMF and NDMF exclusively for mitigation for disaster risks. The total allocation of fund under the State Disaster Mitigation Fund SDMF for 2026-2027 to 2030 and 2031 as recommended by the 16th Finance Commission for the Meghalaya is amount to 97 crore, which includes 87.30 crore as a central share and 9.7 crore as the state share. All the preparedness and capacity building intervention are covered under the SDMF. The Northeastern and Himalayan state, including Meghalaya, the central government contribute 90% of this, and the state government contribute 10% of the annual allocation for the Disaster Management Fund. This funding pattern recognizes the geographical and disaster vulnerability characteristic of the Northeastern and Himalayan state. The scope of mitigation. Sir, the mitigation fund can support eligible projects relating to notified disaster and disaster notified by the state within a local context subject to the applicable guideline. The scopes include disaster risk assessment, early warning system, community resilience, protection of settlement and asset, ecosystem-related risk reduction, preparedness, capacity building, research and studies, and other approved intervention which reduce disaster risks and its impact. The funding may therefore support both the physical intervention and knowledge, technology, and community-based intervention. At the same time, the guideline places restriction on its use. The fund is not intended for the general environment improvement or beautification, financing of existing government program or ongoing scheme, routine maintenance and upkeep of mitigation structure or regular establishment expenditures such as salaries and office expense except where specifically permitted under the project guideline. The objective is to ensure that the fund is used for the new, identifiable and measurable disaster mitigation intervention. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, preparedness is an important part of disaster risk reduction. While mitigation seeks to reduce the risk and potential impact of a disaster, preparedness ensures that the government agency, response, personnel and communities are able to act effectively when a disaster occurs. Preparedness therefore includes training, mock drill, emergency communication, early warning, dissemination, risks and vulnerability assessment, response planning, community awareness, coordination among departments, and strengthening of response system. The government is accordingly adopting an approach in which mitigation and preparedness are treated as the complementary element of disaster risk reduction. So, in our state has an established mechanism for appraisal, approval, implementation, and monitoring of mitigation projects. Various department agencies and district disaster management authorities extra submit their mitigation project proposal through the prescribed channel for appraisal. The State Executive Committee, headed by the Chief Secretary, to the Government of Meghalaya, representatives of Concerned Department and state entities, examine the proposal from the technical, social, financial, and guidelines compliance perspective. The committee provide a technical guidance, examine the viability of the proposal, consider conformity with the government guideline, and recommend eligible project to the State Executive Committee. After approval, the Meghalaya State Disaster Management Authority supervise and monitor implementation and is responsible for prescribed reporting, completion, certification, and maintenance of the project record. Thus, the process broadly consists of identification, appraisal, approval, implementation, monitoring, and reporting. Sir, the requirement, now I come to the present supplementary demand, which needs to be understood in the context of the para 7.5 of the applicable SDMF and DMF guideline. The provision requires that on receipt of the fund from NDMF, the state government shall account for the receipt along with the central and state share of the state disaster mitigation fund under the prescribed major head and make a suitable budget provision on the expenditure side under the relevant minor head under the major head 2245 relief on account of natural calamities. This means that once an approved project receives the central assistance and the amount released to the state government is required to make a corresponding expenditure provision in its budget. Therefore, the present supplementary demand relating to NDMF supporting project is not a fresh request for sanction of the project. These special projects have already been approved and central assistance has already been released. The supplementary demand is required to provide the necessary budget authority for utilization of the sanction fund during the financial year 2026-27. Sir, LO has raised the mitigation scheme for the forest fire risk management. Sir, I would now mention about this project. The mitigation scheme for forest fire risk management, MSFFRM, is an NDMF supported mitigation project proposed by the Forest and Environment Department, Government of Meghalaya, in consultation with the Meghalaya State Disaster Management Authority. The project will be implemented by the Forest and Environment Department, Government of Meghalaya. This project covers the 4 priority districts, namely the West Khas Hills, South West Khas Hills, Rymbui, and East Karo Hills. The objective is to strengthen the forest fire prevention, early warning, risk assessment, preparedness, response, and post-fire recovery. The project also seeks to reduce the adverse effect of forest fire on forest ecosystem, biodiversity, forest-dependent communities, and livelihood. The proposed intervention include the early warning, fire monitoring, reduction of fuel load, development of water source for fire response, community participation, capacity building, forest fire risk assessment, emergency communication, preparation of forest fire prevention and mitigation plan, and strengthening of response system. The financial structure of this project is as follows. Central share from NDMF 12.27 Klur, state share is 1.23 crore, total NDMF outlay is 13.5 crore. Preparedness and capacity building support on the SDRF is 2.32 crore. Total project cost is 15.82 crore. The central share of 12.27 crore has already been released by the Department of Expenditure, Ministry of Finance, Government of India, white letter number 13 in bracket 2 FCD /2024-2026 dated 12 March 2026. As adequate provision was not available on the relevant centrally sponsored scheme head in original budget for 2026-2027, provision of 12.27 crore is being sought through the supplementary demand. Mitigation project on lightning safety. Similarly, under mitigation project on lightning safety, MPLS, it is an NDF-supported mitigation project proposed by the Government of Meghalaya through the Meghalaya State Disaster Management Authority. The project will be implemented by the Meghalaya State Disaster Management Authority, Government of Meghalaya. Lightning has been notified as a state disaster and has caused loss of life, particularly among the rural and vulnerable communities. The project seeks to improve the ability of the community to receive a timely warning and take appropriate protection action, while also strengthening institutional capacity for lightning risk management. The financial structure of the project is central share from NDMF is 5.58 crore, state share 0.62 crore. Total NDMF outlay is 6.20 crore. State-owned resource is 0.5458 crore. Total project cost is 6.7458 crore. The principal project intervention covers the community-based risk assessment and strengthening of local early warning system, awareness and education training and capacity building and preparedness and mitigation. The central share of 5.58 crore has already been released by Department of Expenditure, Ministry of Finance, Government of India, White Letter number 13 in bracket 2 FCD/2024-26 Part 1 dated 9 February 2026. Since the adequate budget provision was not available under the relevant centrally sponsored scheme head for the 2026-27, a provision of 5.58 crore is being sought through the supplementary demand. Sir, therefore, the supplementary demand of 17.85 crore for implementation of this project under the centrally sponsored scheme is required to provide expenditure provision corresponding to the central assistance already released. Accordingly, the state government is also required to provide a corresponding state share towards this approved project. The state share under MSFF RM 1.23 crore, MPLS state share is 0.62 crore, and total state share is 2.3958 crore. As adequate provision was not available under the relevant state scheme head for 2026-27, a supplementary demand of 2.3958 crore has been proposed. Sir, apart from the NDMF supporting project, the State Executive Committee has also approved the proposal under the State Disaster Mitigation Fund. These include the mitigation project on lightning safety, MPLS, for 10 districts, construction of retaining wall, construction of water canal or drainage, studies of floodplain zoning, setting up of conventional flood forecasting station, and non-structural activities in all the districts subject to the approval of indicative list by the concerned DDMA. As adequate provision was not available under the relevant state scheme head for the 2026-27, a supplementary demand of 2 crore is proposed for the implementation of the approved mitigation activities. So, as I have mentioned earlier, the mitigation scheme for the forest fire risk management also required a strengthening of the preparedness and response capacity. The preparedness and capacity building component is intended to support the training, preparedness, and strengthening of the response system necessary for the effective forest fire management. Since adequate budget provision is not available on the relevant head of account for 2026-27, a supplementary demand of 2.32 crore is proposed for the project and capacity building support under the SDRF for forest fire project approved by the Government of India. The expenditure will be restricted to the approved mitigation activities and will be subjected to the applicable guidelines, financial rules, and monitoring mechanism. Preparedness and capacity building on SDRF. So, as part of these activities, the state undertake various preparedness and capacity building activities throughout the years. The State Executive Committee has also approved the proposal under the preparedness and capacity building component of SDRF. These include the procurement of satellite communication system, support to the state scheme for community volunteer, ABDA Mitra volunteer, procurement of emergency essential resource reserve, EERR, for all blocks, procurement of search and rescue equipment for state disaster response force, and procurement and installation of electrically operated siren. The objective is to strengthen the preparedness of the government department, field personnel, response agency, and communities through appropriate training, capacity building, related preparedness activities. Since adequate budget provision is not available on the relevant head of account for the financial 2026-27, a supplementary demand of 2 crore is proposed for the preparedness and capacity building activities under CDRF. So besides this, I think there are some issues which is related, raised by the honourable member, which I would like to respond, sir. Number one, sir, regarding the delay of the proposal to reach the beneficiary. Yes, as honourable member from Nongpo has mentioned, there are some which take 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So in this instance, the government of Meghalaya have issued a notification dated Shillong the 25th of March 2025. Number RDG 47/2019-131. This notification speaks about the process of checking how the scheme is being implemented from the day of reporting till the reach the beneficiary if it is applicable. So I will place this notification on the table of the House so that all the honourable members will go directly to this DRM, the Disaster Relief and Monitoring System, where they can see what is there in their own constituency and how to see where it is, where that file or anything stops. So I will place this on the table of the House so that every member will be known what is happening and what is not happening. And number two, regarding the different issues which the entitlement for different issues, whether the ex gratia payment, whether the injury, whether hospitalization, I also will place this notification dated 13th of August 2025, number RDG 47/147, so that every member could see where is the process start and how it will reach the decision-making authority and who will take a decision, so that through this effort, even at the officer level or office level also, they will know that somebody is monitoring them, so that if there is any shortcoming, we can tell the officers then and there. Besides this, sir, there are also some urgent measure which, if it comes to the state executive body, it takes so much time due to something or other. So, sir, to simplify this thing.
You may please sit down. It is now 3 o'clock, but I will further extend the sitting of the House in exercise of the Rule 11 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business till the demand number 2 is disposed of. We will take up the rest of the supplementary demand for grants on Friday, the 28th August 2026. So, Honourable Minister, you may please continue with your reply.
Sir, this notification also is very, very important, that so that we will know at the district level what are the things which is doing, how many days, so that you, as honourable member representative, you will know and you could follow up, so that the genuine beneficiary could get the relief on time. So this notification also number dated Shillong, the 10th of April 2024, number RDG.59/2021/8. This also I will place on the table of the House. Why I place on the table of the House? Because I find that these notifications are very, very important to enlighten us what are the steps to be taken and what is entitlement and what are the mechanisms which be done, so that we also, as the responsible member, we could follow up with the different authority at stake. So, Regarding the wage of which the honourable member raised in this particular court motion,
Mr. Speaker, sir, before the mover of the cut motion indicates her mind, I would like to just indicate one very important point which I have articulated during my submission, and which again is to an extent corroborating in respect of the submission made by honorable member from Fulbari. Now this disaster mitigation plan, comprehensive disaster mitigation plan coming from the grassroots level and ultimately at the state executive, of which the Chief Secretary is chairman. Now this mitigation plan also covers the need of the line departments to factor those related measures to be factored in the program in the DPR, which will make them disaster resilient. And here there is a massive intervention which is required, which is pertaining to the protection of that large area starting from Tikrikila till Salsala, that areas falling under Salsala constituency. Now when we got that road agreed to be funded by JICA after having been approved by Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, Sri Rampur to Nongstoy via Dhubri, 401 kilometers. The alignment has been subsequently changed in respect of the bridge from Dhubri to, meaning from the north bank to the south bank. Initial alignment was different. But in the process, I am only afraid whether the required necessary disaster resilient component of the works which are supposed to be factored in the DPR, which is inbuilt in as far as the protection of that area is concerned, whether that is there or not, I think that should be to some extent reviewed. And I will only request through you, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Honorable Chief Minister at his level, being the chairman of the State Disaster Management Authority, may review this particular case so that at the time of this implementation, because the process of implementation is still on, so that it is appropriately factored, so then we don't have to, locate and again scout for fund from other sources. So this can be, if it has not been factored for whatever reasons, after the change of alignment of the bridge, then it must be done. Similarly, many other roads, well, programming only, this aspect must be factored. So this is my submission. And as far as the issue of these certain omission and commission pertaining to the names of the victims, we don't call them beneficiaries, we are calling them victims actually, victims of disaster. There are reports, in fact, I got some report even from South Garwins recently, that VECs are being engaged. But then we have this statutory format which is available for reference, and it's a statutory responsibility, Disaster Management Act 2005. And the resultant disaster management plan as per the mandate of the Disaster Management Act 2005 is comprehensive, and we have the village level, Village Disaster Management Committee. So they should be the one who should be assisting the block level, along with other members of the line departments. We have agriculture, horticulture, veterinary, and the Gram Sevaks. But along with them, the Village Disaster Management Committee, they are the grassroots level statutory bodies. So I think that should be looked at, and accordingly, a notification to this regard should be issued, and the Village Disaster Management Committee must be revived, resensitized, so that they are available at the moment of such a crisis. As we all know, we always refer to them as the first responders. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, sir, I expect that these important aspects of concern is factored in their action plan.
You wish to reply? Okay.
Ah,